Hi, I'm Jay,
I'm Aita.
I'm Alyssa.
and we are the children's librarians at Cary Library, and these are some of our favorite books from the summer reading lists. The last year of our lives has been defined by an organism far too small to see. In All in a Drop, author Laurie Alexander takes us back almost 400 years to a world that had no idea it was teeming with invisible life. As a young boy in the Netherlands, Antony van Leeuwenhoek watches curiously as the silkworms he raises spin their cocoons. Where does the silk come from? The source is too small to see. Years later, when he learns of an English scientist using microscopes to study small objects up close, ever curious Antony wonders if he can make a lens stronger than his current magnifying glass. The microscopes he makes are actually much stronger than any that exist in the world at the time, and Antony is amazed by what he can see. He studies insects and eyeballs and blood, but his most amazing discovery is made in a drop of lake water. It's full of tiny animals. No one believes him at first, but that doesn't stop Antony's curiosity. You can read all about how a man with no scientific training became known as the father of microbiology in All in a Drop: How Antony van Leeuwenhoek Discovered an Invisible World.
I Remember is a beautiful combination of poetry and art. In this collection, compiled by Lee Bennett Hopkins, poets and artists work together to create a poem and an accompanying illustration. Each poem and illustration is a reflection on experiences in childhood and highlights the poet's and artist's heritage, whether that is Asian, Native American, Scottish, Southern, Spanish, Jewish, or a mix. At the end are short biographical paragraphs about each of the poets and the artists, and each has a photograph of them as a child and as an adult. The writers include Nick Bruhl, Bad Kitty, Kwame Alexander, Crossover and Undefeated, and Janet Wong, Apple Pie, 4th of July, and Me and the Jake series. Well worth a look.
Move aside history. It's time for Herstory, a celebration of not only the things girls can do, but the remarkable things they have already accomplished, even when others have tried to stop them. Learn about 50 inspiring and powerful women who have changed the world and left their mark. From astronauts to activists, musicians to mathematicians, you'll learn the stories of their childhoods, the challenges they faced, and the impacts of their achievements. If you like goodnight stories for rebel girls or She Persisted, this is the next compilation biography for you. Check out Herstory by Catherine Halligan.
When you hear the word glass, what do you think of? Something fragile and delicate? Or perhaps the plain cups lined up neatly in your kitchen cabinets? Dale Chihuly is an artist who makes glass vibrant and lively, pushing the limits of imagination, technique, and the boundaries of what is considered art, with glassworks inspired by flowers, sea creatures, ice, and more. In World of Glass by Jan Greenberg and Sandra Jordan, you can read about how Chihuly leads his team of glass blowers to shape 2,000-degree molten glass into the beautiful forms he's exhibited and installed all over the world.
When I was new to this country, I went to New Hampshire and saw a restaurant called the Roadkill Cafe and asked what roadkill was. Was it really what I thought it was? Yep, those poor dead animals squished. Could they? Would they serve them up in a restaurant? This book, quote, is about the discoveries, ingenuity, and hope that have been inspired by roadkill. Wildlife specialist Heather Montgomery became obsessed with roadkill after finding a snake by the side of the road while jogging. This obsession has taken her all over the world to talk with scientists studying cancer, an Englishman who eats roadkill, and a boy in Africa who has his own museum of skeletons built from roadkill. These are just some of the characters and stories in this disgusting and totally fascinating book. It is not for the faint of heart. It is for scientists, animal lovers, and those who love the grotesque.
On July 6, 1944, fans made their way to the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey circus performance in Hartford, Connecticut. Not long after the show's start, a fire broke out and spread rapidly through the big top. Panicked circus-goers pushed and scrambled to escape, but within 10 minutes, the entire big top had burned to the ground, leaving 167 people deceased and many more injured. Was the fire arson? Was it set by a teenage circus employee with a history of setting fires? Who is the unidentified little girl whose body was unclaimed? What happened to little Eleanor Cook, who was never found? Who was really to blame for this disaster, which remains one of the deadliest fires in U.S. history? Follow the investigation, explore the forensics, and draw your own conclusions about the mysteries that surround this incredible tragedy in Big Top Burning, the true story of an arsonist, a missing girl, and the greatest show on earth by Laura Willett.
Just over 100 years ago, a radium craze was sweeping the nation. The recently discovered wonder element was said to be a healthful cure-all, and everyone wanted a clock with a dial made luminous by radium paint. Business was booming for the United States Radium Corporation and the Radium Dial Company, and the girls who painted the dials felt so glamorous leaving work dusted in radium's glow. But the young women who achieved such fine detail work by pointing their brushes with their lips soon started having trouble with their teeth, jaws, and other bones. They started dying painful and traumatic deaths. Their bosses had told them their work was safe, but could radium poisoning be to blame? The Radium Girls by Kate Moore is the scary but true story of a medical mystery, two greedy companies putting profits over people, and the determined fight of a group of doomed young women who could not save themselves, but undoubtedly saved the lives of countless workers over the last century by exposing the dangers their employers knowingly covered up.
It was in 2018 when the events in this book took place. Not so long ago, and some of you may remember it. A soccer team of 12 boys and their coach went on an adventure exploring a cave. Unfortunately, when they turned to leave, rising floodwaters had filled the exit and they were trapped. Would they survive? Who would come to help? Would anyone know where to find them? Even though we know the end of this story, Christina Soren-Tornvat, a Thai American, has written a book that is suspenseful and informative. Beautifully written with incredible photographs and graphs showing how the Thai people and teams from around the world came together to save those boys. The work involved is as awe-inspiring as this book.
The escalating violence of World War II caused British parents by the thousands to evacuate their children. Some were sent to the countryside, others were sent to Canada. In September 1940, the passenger liner, the SS City of Benares, set out in a convoy of 19 ships. On board were 90 of these children, with their chaperones, as well as other paying passengers. Just after the warships escorting the Benares to safe water peeled away, the ship was attacked by German torpedoes. Those who made it to the lifeboats faced hours of relentless freezing temperatures and huge waves while waiting to be rescued. This book documents the harrowing escapes, incredible heroism, tragic accidents, and eventual rescues, and the terrible aftermath. This is the true story behind Susan Hood's Lifeboat 12, and is the perfect book for anyone who enjoys narrative nonfiction, stories from history, or stories of survival against the odds. Check out Torpedoed by Deborah Heikelman.